Welcome back, watchers and listeners. I'm your host, David Picorni, back with Talkin Chop. We got some stuff to talk about today. Rashee Rice came up with a statement. BJ Thompson unfortunately goes down in practice. Xavier Worthy signs his contract. Hardman signs his, and much, much more in general NFL news. I am your host, David Picorni, as always, and I'm here with my co-host, as always, again, Mr. Garrett Amutis. Garrett, what is up today? How are we feeling, my guy?
Feeling pretty good. The Royals they're choking away a tie game in the 10th, so can't feel too great about that. But I'm feeling pretty good about the pod we have today. So
yeah, I mean, hey, we got Bobby Witt, so I think we're gonna be totally fine with that. Oops, I did the wrong camera setup, guys.
we're on the 2-man now. We're good.
If you guys are listening to us on the Spotify, I highly do recommend the YouTube version as well. I finally got a new camera and mic, so hopefully that fixed last episode's issues when I was in my literal bathroom of my Kansas City
Yeah,
home.
it was just a multitude of technical and just Wi-Fi issues. So hopefully we're all back in our setups. We're all good to go. We're rearing up, and we got a good episode ahead of us today.
Yeah, I can wear my Kadarius Toney jersey now on my body. Instead of the wall, because I got two new art pieces here. This is just a beautiful Jamal Charles piece that was painted for us, and then this was the beautiful Arrowhead Stadium instruction blueprint that I got up there as well. But yeah, Garrett, let us get into this. Unfortunately, BJ Thompson went down in practice with a cardiac arrest stroke kind of deal. He is fine. Apparently, Harrison Butker was one of the people that helped him as well as
I'm assuming he was closest to him and first responder. I mean, so I don't know if it's the same, but in high school, every single coach is trained with the athletic, staff to kind of handle those kind of situations quickly. I don't know if it's the same for players and coaches in the NFL, but I would assume there's some kind of on-field course where some guy goes down, not sure what's happening. First guy needs to get on the scene and kind of handle it till the actual, medical professionals arrive. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And apparently our team was really, really good about getting there on time, and that's really awesome too. So hopefully BJ Thompson is going to be okay. Yeah, I mean, that's really all we
I mean, you hate to see young guys kind of go through that. I mean, it's kind of like a really traumatizing experience. Obviously, we had the situation with Damar Hamlin. What was it, 2 seasons ago now? Honestly, I'm going to say it. I know he barely played. Still, I'm shocked Damar Hamlin didn't win Comeback Player of the Year.
Really?
The dude pretty much died on the field and still came back and played football. I understand we've got good comeback stories coming back from being really bad, I guess, but
I don't know. It's just what Joe Flacco did was just so impressive, I feel like. So I'm in the Joe Flacco camp, but I mean,
I just feel like when we talk about Comeback Player of the Years, I know we're kind of going on a little tangent now related
that's
to
what
the
we
BJ
do.
Thompson injury.
That's what we
but
do.
I just feel like when it comes to Comeback Player of the Year, I automatically look towards Alex Smith's year. He won that because he legitimately came back from an extreme injury that most players would just hang it up the moment that happens on the field. I mean, the same thing happened with Joe Theismann with that whole scenario where it's same stadium, same score, same teams playing each other, same
That's
day.
Crazy. I do.
It was a lot of very crazy similarities in that injury, but anytime I think about that award, I automatically think of Alex Smith, and it's is coming back from being kind of just mediocre really a good comeback story? I don't know, but
see, this is why they need to make it 2 different awards. That's what I've always been pushing for, because I think Flacco's taking that Browns team as far as they did and putting up the numbers he was putting up. It wasn't like he was just mediocre to good. It was mediocre to he was a top 10 quarterback at that point of the season. And I think there should be 2 awards. It's Comeback Player of the Year performance-wise, and then comeback from the biggest injury, because then I think they both should have gotten an award. Or I guess it should just
be
be
the Alex Smith Award, baby.
That's the Alex Smith
Award.
The
Comeback Player of the Year and then the Alex Smith Player of the Year. It's just two different kind of ball games when it comes to those kind of comebacks. But
because doesn't the NBA do 2 different ones? Because I know they have the Most Improved Player award, which I also like a lot too. Because it's you
don't really watch that much NBA, but so not the premier. Don't take my word for it, but maybe, probably, who knows?
Yeah, I haven't been watching as much MLB. We've been watching baseball a lot lately, and honestly, you know what? This is an ad lib topic, but Bobby Witt Jr. and Patrick Mahomes, do we just have the 2 best players of each sport right now. Is Bobby Witt really the best baseball player in sports right now? And he
I
could
would
be.
say if Bobby Witt was on a team like the Yankees or some other like high profile team, he would be like touted as more of a high level player. But since he's on the Royals, like he's a phenomenal player, but he's on that same like kind of like he's just a really fun player to watch right now. Like I'd say like that's the general gist. Like great shortstop, really great defensive capabilities. He's gotten a lot better in the hitting game, and I know this is Chiefs podcast, but I mean he's really what's pulling this squad together this year. And the boys are out there playing ball. Not today, apparently. We tied it up in the ninth, and we let up 3, top of the 10th. Still going on. We could come back, but probably not. Not today.
Yeah,
But
Garrett will give us the live score updates of the Royals game, which is kind of hype.
yeah,
But dude, I mean, this could be like Bobby Witt's year to the equivalent of Mahomes' first year in the NFL when Mahomes got the 50 touchdowns. I know Bobby Witt's been in the MLB for a little sec
yeah,
now, but this is his like breakout season right now.
yeah.
And the Chiefs are
I feel
finally,
like
or the
they're in
Royals
that
are
same.
finally good.
Yeah, they're in that same like level where it's like they're kind of showing that baseball and football respectively can be played in different ways, and they can, they kind of brought this another level of like enjoyment to watching the game play. Because Bobby Witt, he's always making these insane like dive over a player, throw to first base, still get the out after a double play, and he's a phenomenal player, and I love watching him play baseball.
And what's fun about this too is it's a very similar fan reception as well. Because when the Chiefs had Mahomes for the first couple of years, everyone loved the Chiefs. Every casual NFL fan was like, "Wow, the Chiefs are fun to watch. The Chiefs are all this. Like, look at what Mahomes did to Big Ben. It was like one of the greatest games, like early on Mahomes' career. Like both quarterbacks had 6 touchdowns, and
Yeah, it was insane. That was a crazy
look at
game.
this guy." But all the MLB fans are separating Royals from Chiefs right now because they're like, wow, the Royals are fun to watch. The Royals are the best team in the MLB right now. The Royals are amazing to watch because of Bobby Witt. And it's like he's having the same effect Mahomes did.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
luckily the Royals aren't going to have that same effect now where, the Chiefs, they won, countless Super Bowls after Mahomes' rookie year, and now we've kind of become the villains of the league. Not really
what
going to
if
have
the Royals do
I think just due to the fact that the difference in NFL having a
salary cap?
salary cap
Mhm.
and baseball, like we're not going to be like a Yankees level hate from MLB because we're a low market team, and we'll make a World Series every once in 30 years or so, and we'll make a big like comeback, like, whoa, we got a bunch of young guys on the roster, we don't have to pay them, so we're gonna go well. But
And then they
I
get
can see
old.
this team, yeah, and then they get old and they're like, well, I'm gonna go to the Yankees for $500 billion, so because they can just
Exactly.
throw money out the window at any player that's like, oh, he's pretty good, just give him $300 million because the Royals can't pay him. So
Exactly. Well, now we can actually talk about some NFL news, but that was actually a
yeah,
fun
little tangent, but we'll get back on track.
So Xavier Worthy signed his contract. It took him a little sec, but he finally did that. He's only making like what, 3 mil a year for a first round pick. That's
Yeah,
pretty
something like
good.
that. I think it's like 3.5 mil a year. Not too bad, not too shabby. I think he was our last rookie that needed to be signed. If I am remembering that correctly, I think we
Yeah,
have
you.
everyone else signed.
And the thing is, Xavier Worthy got his car stolen recently, so I get it. He's got to negotiate a little bit
He's
extra
like,
to
look, can I
cover
get
the
like an extra
cost.
400K on that signing bonus to get a new car? I think it's
Yeah,
just a little bit fair, but
yeah. Kansas City doing one for him after the community stole his car. I wouldn't say the community, just some organized group of criminals, which is crazy that it was like an orchestrated attack on Worthy's
you'd be
car.
surprised. Like out here, there's like been an influx of just like a bunch of like people breaking into cars and stealing cars. Like I see it all over the place. It's just like a couple neighborhoods at a time. They'll be like, oh, like all our cars got broken into. And it's
The
just
KC
become like a
mob,
yeah, like
the
a little bit
KC
of
mob is
a
back
little
at
bit
it
of an
again.
epidemic out here with cars. But uh, yeah, I don't think it was because he was holding out or anything. I think it was just working out the little kinks and details, like the guarantees and the signing bonus, yada yada yada, that goes with it. And then everyone, if a player takes forever to sign their rookie contract, they all look towards like Jamarcus Russell. He's like, oh, I don't know, maybe I won't sign my contract. Also, another random tangent. That was the biggest fleece of all time. That rookie contract. I don't know if you've read too much about that Jamarcus Russell rookie
Oh,
contract.
yeah, he made like what, so
It's
many
insane. So
guaranteed.
much money, and he's just the worst quarterback ever.
So a terrible transition, but speaking of car-related issues with wide receivers on the Chiefs, Rashee Rice has made a statement today about that he's go. Well, I mean, I could just say the statement straight up. He said all he can do is mature and continue to grow from that. And you know what? That's all he needs to say. He's been back at practice doing stuff. Like, listen, we all make mistakes. We all do stupid stuff. The certain other allegations turned out to be false. And so we're talking about the one allegation, which was the car accident where he was speeding down the Dallas
Yeah,
highway.
which really isn't an allegation. It's a full on thing. It did happen.
It did happen. There's
Which
video evidence.
I mean, you know,
I
and
don't
he
like
came out.
him.
Yeah,
I don't
obviously we don't like him doing that kind of thing, and he came out with that statement today. And like you said, I don't think he really needs to stay anymore. I mean, he stayed out of trouble since then. The other thing was turned out to be false, and I think he's just I think he'll keep on a clean slate. I think Mahomes and company probably got to him outside of practice time and was like, hey, they sat him down. You have a really big potential to be big here, and you know we don't want you throwing that away.
Well, and the thing too, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt is like I've seen how he acted before this incident, and I feel like it's just a one-off thing. We all make mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes. We don't need to go into that, but just look at my college record. And then you know, like he, that's all he needs to say. He's getting so much hate for that. They're like, oh, if it was anybody else, they'd be arrested and put in jail. And I don't like him fleeing from the police, that's for sure. But it's like, listen, there's been NFL players who've gotten to play football for a lot less or for a lot worse things. So it's like,
I'd argue some of the stuff Vontez Burfict did on the field was worse than what Rashee Rice did, and he still played for a while.
But that's a crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, hey, that's all really from that camp. And I mean, Rice has been putting the work in the offseason. He's been like, you know,
I mean,
in
he's
the
a really
Dallas
young
area.
guy. He's going to make a mistake. You know, this was a pretty big one, but I think that it's going to be put behind him. And obviously, if he makes any more, I mean, we all know Andy Rashee is going to be on real thin ice from here on out. And you know, I just hope he pulls it together and he can be really good for us.
And he will be. This was speaking of really good for us. This wide receiver core is really, really good, and it just got a lot better. Because I don't know if it got a lot better, but it got better. Mecole Hardman, welcome back to the Chiefs. I actually didn't think we were going to re-sign him with all the, you know, offseason controversy of him like and the asking to be on the Chiefs from the Jets or whatever, but seems like that's all blown over, and Hardman is right back to the team on a really, really great deal that I'm happy with. 1 year, 1.1 million. Perfect. That is exactly the kind of value I want to get from a guy in probably the greatest speed wide receiver room potentially of all time. If I had to say,
Yeah.
Garrett, read off some of these speeds of our guys right now.
Yeah, and right before that, I mean, I was talking to you earlier. Like, if it was anything over like 1.5 million a year, I would have been surprised. So we're right in that range that I was kind of expecting, like that 1.1, 1.3 range per year. Just to kind of bring him back, I don't think he might have looked around a little bit, probably didn't find too many better offers, and decided to just come back and settle back in KC. But if you guys might remember, when Mahomes was first starting out, we kind of had a little bit of a Legion of Zoom going on.
Yeah.
You know, we had Tyreek, you know, prime. I'll put that in quotes. Mecole Hardman. You know, we had Sammy Watkins, who I guess you know he was fast, but I wouldn't say he was like blazing speed. I argue like me and you. I think we both agree that this is a faster receiver core than that time, and I think it might be one of the fastest of all time.
I do
If we're
too.
really
Like I
talking
just
about it.
can't even think of another faster core because even if you put Kadarius Toney into this conversation with his 4.38 speed, like he's technically a part of the team and he technically is fast. So I would count him in the receiving room. But yeah, and you count Isaiah Pacheco. They used to count Damian Williams in the old Legion of Zoom. So Isaiah Pacheco with the 4.37, Mecole
Faster.
Hardman with his 4.33. Hollywood Brown with a 4.27, and then Xavier Worthy, fastest of all time in the combine metric with 4.21. Now, to see if these guys will be more than just fast and be actually good, that is the next question. I think Hollywood Brown is an amazing player and has just been in so many bad situations throughout his NFL career, and he's made himself look good despite those situations. So I think Hollywood Brown, 1,000 yards is my floor for him. I think he's going to be, if he stays healthy, which I think he will, because he's training with Mahomes' Bobby Stroop trainer, which I have more confidence in than any other trainer in the history
our
of
training staff
trainers.
is phenomenal. I mean, just keeping the guys on the field and away from injury. Like last year, there
Knock on
was
wood.
knock on wood, but I mean, we saw last year how many injuries afflicted the league and so many teams, you know, with a lot of high hopes just immediately drop out due to like these crazy injuries. I mean, you have that example with the Jets. You know, they had their first like big high hope season of all time. 4 minutes into the season, boom, lights are over. Which they still won 7 games with a Zach Wilson led team. So if I'm a Jets fan, I'm still excited. Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, but let's just hope he stays healthy again.
Yeah.
But
Hey,
I think
Zach Wilson is currently beating out Bo Nix from what I've heard in camp, but that's obviously his early camp garbage.
I was kind of a Bo Nix hater, but I mean,
I'm a Bo Nix supporter. Hey, it's so early. We can't be saying nothing. But I just want to say Zach Wilson, he's putting his battle in. You know, we could be playing the Broncos with Zach Wilson and Bo Nix next season because they'll be doing it both.
Who knows? Maybe they just throw Bo Nix at like quarterback and Zach Wilson out at wideout for some reason.
Dude, yeah, the MILF hunter. But I think, you know, Hardman adds a lot of competition in this room because this room is interestingly stacked now. So it becomes who's the odd man out of this wide receiver room, Garrett? Because we got Rashee Rice is the wide receiver one to me, but he might miss some time. And if he does miss some time, we could put him on the IR suspension list thing and get an extra receiver spot for the time being. And I guess we could really solidify who can make the team. But we got Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Mecole Hardman now, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Skyy Moore, and then here's some other guys that I think are going to compete for a roster spot. Obviously, everyone loves Justyn Ross. Nikko Remigio has been turning heads and has been only practicing with Mahomes and Carson Wentz, meaning that he is in that top 8 receivers. Cornell Powell is on the team. Montrell Washington.
I remember when we drafted Cornell Powell, and like we kind of looked up his tape at the time. And we're like, you know, this kid looks kind of good. Like we could see him like making the team, and he's just consistently been like practice squad level guy. He's always been around. He hasn't been dropped, so. You know,
that's good. You got to say something for a consistent practice squad guy. I don't think I've ever seen a more consistent practice squad guy, but he's there. Montrell Washington,
Greg Dieter. That's the most consistent practice squad guy.
Garrett Dieter, bro. Mahomes' best friend. That's a profession. Yep. Being Mahomes' best friend is a great career.
Is there like nepotism in terms of just like best friends? Because I think that's exactly what fits Garrett Dieter being on the practice squad consistently.
Yeah, and I mean, he's also like a smart guy. I think he's actually training to be a wide receiver coach right now under the Chiefs wide receiver coach, which is great. I mean, I love that. Garrett Dieter was a cool guy. And then our 2 undrafted rookies, Phillip Brooks from K-State and Jaaron Hayek out of Villanova. Both those guys are probably good practice squad material. But who's your top 6, I'd say, because we carried 7 last year.
Well, that was like the first time in a long time.
Do 6 again this year.
I think we'll probably carry 6 and then have like an extra running back slot for like Louis Rees-Zammit / wide receiver, and he'll be like our 7th wide receiver, 3rd or 4th running back.
Some websites have him listed at wide receiver, which is crazy, but I mean, he's just he's been doing everything he's been asked of. I mean, I think he's.
I think going back to like putting my placements, I think it's pretty obvious Rashee Rice is going to be at the 1. I think the really interesting part about this wide receiver room is that we have Hollywood Brown. I would consider him like the 2A. And then we have like a really condensed amount of players that I would put in like a 2B slot and then go into our 3. So if we put Rashee Rice at 1A and Hollywood Brown at 2A, I'd probably put Justin Watson as my 3rd, close behind with Worthy as my 4th.
That's actually very fair.
I would pick, for right now. Obviously, we haven't seen what Worthy can do, but I think Justin Watson is consistent in the fact that, you know, every couple of games he'll have a clutch grab. We've talked about him before being the Dan Sorensen of the offense. Just kind of like the guy who just comes out of nowhere and he's like, oh, it's like 3rd and 15. Mahomes deep bomb. Oh, is it Xavier Worthy? No, it's Justin Watson coming down, mossing some guy over the top of his head for an insane grab, and then he like disappears for 2 games.
I love it, dude. Justin Watson, 100% the Dan Sorensen. I do think he's earned it. He's earned that 3, like, for sure.
I think he's been consistent with us for a long time, and you know he's been a pretty reliable target. Worthy at the 4. I like what I see from him in camp, and obviously that speed is just undeniable on the field. I think having him at any position on our 11 will just automatically make the defense change what they're going to do, because you have to put a fact for that speed on the defense. After Worthy, I would probably go Hardman. It's kind of a hard
5.
one. That's
So
5.
that's 5. Who's
People are going to hate this a lot. I'm going to put Kadarius Toney over Skyy Moore. Why? Because if we look at Kadarius Toney's numbers, and we'll go into a little bit of that later, we have a comparison with another player that we're going to talk about. But Kadarius Toney's numbers early on last season, before he kind of got into this weird headspace where his hands turned into bricks for some reason. I think he like maybe went to like some bad witch or something to like get better. The curse turned on him pretty late in the season, but he was making some really phenomenal catches and really great plays with the ball in his hands. And I think if he can figure that out, he can be a really good player for us. I think with the ball in his hands, he's one of the most deadly players in the league, but that's kind of been the issue later in the season last year, was getting the ball in his hands, right?
Yeah.
So I just like what I see from him. I like the upside. So I'd put him just over Skyy Moore in that regard. And I think Skyy Moore would be the really, really close, like 6B. Like if Kadarius Toney's 6A, Skyy Moore's 6B.
Yeah.
The rest of the guys, they're probably working really hard for us and giving us good looks in practice. But probably if I had to put another guy up there, probably Justyn Ross. Other than that, I don't see any other guys making the roster.
You said Justyn Ross, right?
Yeah, he'd be the guy right under Skyy Moore.
Yeah, and here's the thing too about Kadarius Toney, why I think he might make the roster. And now this is all subject to change. Maybe he gets traded, or maybe that would solve this problem I'm about to say, which is he has a 2.5 million cap penalty if he's cut, and that's a huge cap penalty considering we have Watson, Mecole Hardman, and Skyy Moore all making less than that amount of money. We can't really afford to make that kind of cut. So honestly, if he gets traded, that could solve that problem. But 2.5 million, we got to see something out of that. Now, it does make it so hard, Garrett, because you're right. When I start counting it, it's like now there's 7 wide receivers who should be on the team, with an 8th in Nikko Remigio / Justyn Ross, who are practice squad darlings who should make a roster on most other NFL teams. Especially the Bills. I'm kind of joking. Honestly, the Bills have a lot of guys. I don't know if they need more guys. That kind of
they have a
makes
lot
their
of
problem
guys,
harder.
that's for sure. I think that's probably the one way I've described that wide receiver room. A lot of guys.
We got some big supporters of that take, and we got some big haters of that take.
Oh yeah, Bills Mafia was pretty upset about that one. They were not
I
fans.
think if you look at the Chiefs wide receiver room last year, I think it's a perfect comparison. Guys, I like a lot of those Bills wide receivers. I love Matt Collins. I love Curtis Samuel and
Andy Isabella, baby.
I love Andy Isabella. I love MVS, but it's like there is an issue with having too many like not performing players on a team. And that's like what the Chiefs were last year.
It's like last year, the way I described it is we had a lot of number 2s and number 3s. We never had a number 1 last year.
Yeah.
Until
I think
Rashee Rice kind of broke out near the end there. And I think it's the same with the Bills. You have a lot of number 2s and a lot of number 3s. You just don't have that, go get them wide receiver at number 1.
And it could be Keon Coleman. It could be, but that's not going to start immediately. I don't think he's going to come in and dominate the league at all. I think it's going to be a learning curve for him, but you never know. But yeah, I think, Garrett, I actually perfectly agree with your take here. Now, the interesting thing to note is we have Justin Watson at the 3/4, but he has the smallest cap penalty of all these wide receivers that are under contract should he be cut. So that is an interesting thing to note. If the Chiefs want to invest in the young talent of Skyy Moore and Kadarius Toney, this is going to be a really, really interesting thing to watch throughout the camp, is who makes this roster. And honestly, I think maybe, I haven't checked for sure, Mecole Hardman might be able to get cut too, but I don't think he will. We just brought him on. Obviously,
yeah, I feel
we brought
like if
him.
you just sign him, for I think it was a 1 year. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
or
it's a 1 year. It's a 1 year. It's 1 year, 1 million. Like, we brought him on because we thought we needed him.
Yeah. And obviously it could be, the Jets brought him on last year and they traded him away, so who knows what happens midseason. But as of right now, I could see that being our wide receiving room. I don't think we cut Justin Watson, just due to the fact that it's such a small cap penalty. If we cut him, it'd be like, it's like we counting
save $1 million.
We're counting pennies and dimes at that point. And if we cut him, we get rid of a pretty consistent target from Mahomes and
a good special teamer.
Yeah. And that's another thing a lot of people forget to realize when they look at these guys like deeper on their roster, like, what's the reason for having, Kadarius Toney and, Skyy Moore still on the roster? I'm like, well, because we still have to fill out 11 dudes on kickoff, 11 dudes on kickoff return, 11 dudes on punt return. It's just like there's other parts of the game that's not just offense and defense.
Yeah, now the more I think about it, I think Justin Watson might have to be a roster lock because these guys can't really play special teams. I don't see Worthy, Brown, or Hardman can't play special teams, unfortunately, either, besides kick returner. Excuse me, I just burped. And then Skyy Moore and Kadarius Toney. Skyy Moore has done a little bit of special teams work besides kick returner.
I
He will
remember
never
that,
have to be a kick returner
yeah,
again.
no. Remember they put him on that stretch for like 3 games, and the Chiefs wanted his head on a spike. It's like,
Yeah.
get him off the field. Get him away from kick returner.
But yeah, dude, this is such a hard one. Skyy Moore might get cut. Toney might get cut or traded. Like, oof. It'll be fun to
I
see.
can see a lot of these guys either be on the roster or somewhere else by the middle of the season. But
A
on
much
that
better
same note,
problem
yeah,
to have than last year.
true. We were trying to find guys. Now we're trying to like see which guys we want to keep. It's a very different situation. We did talk about all of those receivers, pretty low cap penalties compared to like Kadarius Toney, a lot of like 3 mil, 4 mil guys. And I think that kind of goes well into what
The
else?
next
Another
segment.
NFL news we want to talk about. Justin Jefferson's contract came out. I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago.
But we didn't record a podcast episode yet,
Yep.
so it's time to talk about
We
it
were on
now.
a little bit of a hiatus. So we're going to talk about it right now.
And
Justin
I'm about
Jefferson
to go on another.
had a 4-year, $140 million contract extension, $100 million guaranteed, which is an exorbitant amount of money and completely deserved. I have been a Justin Jefferson dude forever. I think he's going to be retiring as one of the best wide receivers of all time, regardless of whatever quarterback he plays with. And I am super happy for him. He totally deserves it. Became the highest paid non-quarterback of all time with that contract. And we came up with a little bit of a fun little comparison for Justin Jefferson's contract.
And upon like crunching some numbers too, I've discovered that it's 35 mil a year for Mr. Justin Jefferson, which is a bargain steal. Because I'd rather pay Justin Jefferson than Daniel Jones for 40 million. Deshaun Watson's contract. Would you rather pay Justin Jefferson or Kyler Murray? Like, there's a lot of Russell Wilson.
100%. There are very few players, especially at the quarterback position, that I would rather pay than Justin Jefferson. And I'm not even kidding about that.
No, he elevates any quarterback, and we will see it with JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy is in a great position to succeed just purely based on the fact that they won't ask him to do much. He wasn't asked to do much at Michigan. He's very calm under pressure, and that's all he needs to do. Just throw it to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, who's amazing as well, and JJ will be fine. With JJ. I love that too. But I would rather pay Jefferson than Aaron Donald, low key. I think.
Well, I mean, right now, yeah, considering he's retired, but I think prime Aaron Donald.
It's a closer debate than it really. Yeah, I know, isn't it? It's a thinker. It's a thinker.
I feel like as of right now, with the unknowns of Justin Jefferson, I think he has a really high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking about prime Aaron Donald, I'm signing prime Aaron Donald.
That's fair.
I mean,
and I do have
he's probably a top 3 defensive player of all time. So
yeah,
it's kind of hard to beat.
It's hard to compare when Aaron Donald has already finished his career and Justin Jefferson's just getting started. But, I'm loving what I see early from Jefferson. I mean, some of the clutch catches, especially against that crazy Vikings-Bills game where the Vikings with Jefferson just willed their way to win, which was insane. That's just a guy who can make you win a game, and it's extremely important. Also, I'm a big Aaron Donald supporter too. I got his jersey because he's a legend, and I just wanted to have that one. So
yeah, I mean, he was a living NFL legend in our time. So
it's super cool.
I don't blame you at all.
No, exactly. So, but I'd rather have him than Daniel Jones, and a lot of quarterbacks who are getting 40 mil. And paying JJ McCarthy, like at the end of that's what I think is genius about this move for them. At the end of Jefferson's contract, they get to make the decision. Do they think that Justin Jefferson will be more value to the team's success going forward? Or do they pay JJ McCarthy a quarterback contract? And they'll have that decision to make. And maybe they can keep both, depending on how everything works out. But I just think that was Oops, I think that was
maybe
just
when his
great.
contract's up, he can come to the Chiefs. But
I would love him to come to the Chiefs. But speaking of Chiefs, the Chiefs wide receiver room costs $21 million for actually 10 guys, because I gave Nikko Remigio as well as Justyn Ross the benefit of the doubt and put them on this because it doesn't really matter. 21 million for all the Chiefs wide receivers and 35 million for just Justin Jefferson a year. So that's a debate that I might.
Now, would you rather have those 10 guys or Justin Jefferson?
That's a hard one, actually. But for 15 more million, you have to think it's Justin Jefferson plus 15 more million.
Yeah. So it's like,
so that's a hard one. But then you throw in Kelsey, and now it's about an even comparison. With Kelsey, it's 38 mil if we knock off Nikko Remigio and Justyn Ross and maybe Skyy Moore. Then it's 35 mil. So it's a fair comparison. Would you rather have the Chiefs wide receiver core with Kelsey or Justin Jefferson alone?
I think for the next 4 years, I'd probably stick with our guys just because we would obviously need to fill other wide receiver spots and tight end slots if we took the Justin Jefferson deal. And at that point, would we be able to keep a lot of our main defensive guys as well to kind of keep that stout defense we've enjoyed, the last 2 years. So
no,
I don't think so. I would probably stick with our guys as much as I love Justin Jefferson and as much as I think he's going to be, a Hall of Fame talent easily. But
yeah, it just makes different sense or different scenarios for different teams on how you want to spend that money. It's just kind of fascinating to think that the Chiefs' entire offensive weaponry, pass catching wise, is basically how much it costs to pay Justin Jefferson. And honestly, it was a similar production last year.
I'm blanking on the second wide receiver for the Vikings under Justin Jefferson, but I really like him too.
Jordan Addison.
I'm a really big Jordan Addison guy.
Yeah, I think they're going to be really, really good. In terms
of one of my
coworkers fantasy
is a Vikings fan, and he is ecstatic that Kirk Cousins is gone. So I'm really happy.
Interesting. We'll see how that works in Falcons land, because honestly, who knows? Justin Jefferson may have been making Kirk Cousins look good. Now, I'm a Kirk truther, but Kirk has been in some pretty good offensive situations.
Yeah.
And if you think that the Washington stint was not,
is O'Connell still the Vikings offensive coordinator, head coach, or is he moved on?
No, he's Kevin O'Connell. Yeah. He's still there. And I think he's a great coach. And I saw from the quarterback documentary too that the two of them like kind of butted heads, him and Kirk Cousins, that is. And so it'd be interesting to see now that he has his guy. So I think Kirk, had the benefit of the doubt of being a veteran. He could kind of command his own offense a little bit. O'Connell definitely had his way and his thoughts about things. So I think JJ is in a good position to succeed, and I think he's getting overhated.
And I think that'll go into more of a better situation for O'Connell as well, because I feel like the butting of heads came from, Kirk Cousins being a veteran quarterback in the league. He was kind of set in stone of his ways, his way of doing things after being in the league for so long. And now O'Connell is going to be able to kind of like mold JJ McCarthy out of his own clay and kind of build that kind of like bond with him, I would say, especially with, your number one receiver in the league and, your own quarterback, new head coach. I think it'll mesh pretty well. I could see the Vikings going pretty far next year.
They also have TJ Hawkinson, which is fun for them.
Super underrated, by the way. TJ Hawkinson is super underrated.
I don't know.
I'd say he's like top 3.
I think he's top 3. Honestly, Mark Andrews had a down year and TJ Hawkinson had an up year. So and Darren Waller has retired. That's a perfect transition.
Yeah, great transition. This happened literally like half an hour ago before recording.
It's been rumored. It's been rumored for the whole season, but it's like now official that he's gone.
And in doing so, that completes the whole circle of life trade that happened with the Chiefs, the Giants, and the Raiders involving Darren Waller and that whole trade cycle.
And Kadarius Toney. That's the other big piece of that trade. So basically, let's talk about this trade. I think it's one of the most like interesting lose trades. And I think the Chiefs won the most out of the lose trade.
We've lost the least.
Yes, we've lost the least.
Yeah.
So basically, the Kansas City Chiefs were given a compensatory pick for the departure of one of the players. That third round compensatory pick was traded to the Giants midseason for wide receiver Kadarius Toney, who in that same season would go on to have the longest Super Bowl punt return. With that pick, the Giants sent it to the Raiders for tight end Darren Waller, who was mostly injured last season and didn't play much. When he did play, he was really good. But now he's retired. So that third round pick kind of wasted.
Essentially useless.
But then what happened? What happened to that third round pick? Well, the Raiders selected the 5'9 wide receiver out of Cincinnati, Trey Tucker. Now, I will say Trey Tucker had double the receiving yards on 8 less catches than Kadarius Toney, as well as double the touchdowns. Trey Tucker had
double, if anyone doesn't know, is 1 touchdown to 2. So a little bit harsh language. But yes, Trey Tucker did indeed double Kadarius Toney's touchdowns.
With 19 catches, 331 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Toney, with his 27 catches, 169 yards, and a touchdown last season. But that's only last season. So honestly, I don't see Trey Tucker having much. I think he really only had those yards because he was forced into a position where he had to play. So kind of a lose-lose-lose trade for everybody.
I would say in terms of straight numbers, Trey Tucker overtakes Kadarius Toney. But I've said this before in our friend group and as we're talking about football, but I would trade that third-round pick for that kick return and that touchdown in the Super Bowl every single day of the week, because that was the final touchdown that put us over the edge for the Eagles and kind of put the game away. I'll take that every day of the week, because who had that touchdown? KT, baby.
Toney. You got to do it. And also that's why I got the Kadarius Toney jersey and why I think Chiefs fans are way too harsh on Kadarius Toney. Listen, I know he had the sky was the limit for his potential, and he could have been so fantastic, and he still could be. Who knows? But you can't be so hard on that trade or that player when they stepped up when they needed to, and they will forever be in not only NFL history but Chiefs history as well. I mean, so Kadarius Toney haters, he's in NFL history forever. So,
and if you're an NFL fan watching this and you disagree with that take, let me ask you this: would you trade a third-round pick for the longest kick return and a basic Super Bowl win? I think you would take that every single day of the week.
And that touchdown was super necessary too to get it, and that kick return as well was like a separate drive. So yeah. I mean, and hey, Skyy Moore also had a touchdown in that Super Bowl. Kind of crazy what the wide receivers we've been working with have been in the past 2 seasons.
When you have guys like Skyy Moore, Kadarius Toney, and Justin Watson being major contributors to a Super Bowl season, it kind of tells you about the coaching, the level of staff and training and quarterback that we've had, the past 5 years, that we can pretty much do it with anybody. And arguably, I would say this might be one of the best receiving corps Mahomes has had.
It might be one of the best receiving corps the Chiefs have had, because the Chiefs haven't really had that great of receiving corps historically speaking either. You look back to
season where we had a whole season with 0 wide receiver receiving touchdowns.
Yeah. And then the Texans went to hire that guy, or no, I think the Ravens went to hire that guy as their wide receiver coach, which was hilarious.
Which is insane. I feel like if you, as a wide receiver coach, go through an entire NFL season and a single one of your guys does not get a receiving touchdown,
that's the only time it's ever happened.
It's the only time ever.
You think even in the 20s football?
Well, I mean, I think when the passing game was elevated.
Since stats have been recorded, it's probably the only time ever. But yes, that's insane. And if you think
in the 20s when they thought football was just, putting your nose down and digging through mud. I love watching those couple clips you find every once in a while of 20s football, that one where that guy, the quarterback drops back to pass, all the linemen just look around and are standing, and then the guy just gets punched in the face. 20s football was something else, man.
Yeah, we remember it fondly when we watched all those games live in person.
Quick little rant, by the way, to any of you who say, "Oh, we can't compare guys of today to guys from the 80s and 70s because it's just a different game." I want you to put prime Aaron Donald against any offensive line from the 60s to the 80s. He will literally have 8 sacks a game. It's the amount of physicality and explosiveness and athleticism of today's NFL players blows all of them out. I don't care if it's Larry Allen Cowboys. Aaron Donald would obliterate any offensive line pre-80s.
Wow.
He just would. The athleticism of today is completely unparalleled. It's like putting Babe Ruth in today's modern MLB. It's like, yeah, he was great back then, but he's going to see some 18-year-old throwing 100-mile-per-hour fastballs, and he's going to be like, all right, well, I'm going to go sit down in the stands and get a hot dog because there's just zero way I'm swinging. I mean,
Damn.
That's just a quick little rant.
That's a hot take. I don't know if I have the wherewithal to argue that, but I mean, I don't know.
I just think the athleticism and it goes
what
into the stuff that we use to train today, and the amount of resources available to every single athlete now is infinitely better than what they had in those times during that time frame. And it's just any athlete now, I would say, is more athletic than athletes from pre-90s. Especially in the game of football. The defensive mind as well is what I'll say. It's just,
I mean, schemes are completely different now. It's like
Mhm.
a chess match out there defensively. And I mean, you look at Steve Spagnuolo's defense, like reading that is like harder than a first grader trying to read the encyclopedia. I don't know what the hell that was.
That's also why you have teams like the Ravens, like really dominating on the ground, is because defenses right now, in this kind of day and age, like you're not going to have those 250-pound linebackers up the middle. You got to have guys in the middle that can play coverage, because you have a lot of teams that are really just trying to get to an air raid, mostly pass. And that's why the Ravens are dominating so well, is because they have this really good run scheme against coverages that don't have a lot of like meat on the bones. I mean, they have a lot of like, I would say, more DB-esque linebackers.
Yeah.
And that's why, they can run up the gut and, pound into, like, because they just hit those heavy sets right up the middle, up to these skinnier linebackers that really can't play the run.
And in today's NFL, you have more guys playing on defense. I love this quote from the Washington football team. They said they're going to be running 18 to 17 guys on defense that they call starters. Their DC, it's a new DC. I like him. He's like, listen, don't talk to me about starters, because we got 18 guys who are starters on defense, and it'll all be like personnel package wise. They have made a crazy lot of moves in the offseason. And I think especially with DBs, you have so many situational type DBs. The Chiefs are going to be doing it too. Chamari Connor is listed as a safety. He's probably going to play a lot of slot corner. Najee Johnson is listed at safety. He's probably going to play a lot of slot corner. Jaden Hicks is listed at safety. He's probably going to play a lot of linebacker and maybe some every position, as we talked about earlier, that Jaden Hicks can play every position. Brian Cook could play a lot of linebacker, safety. Our corners can play outside or inside. Trent McDuffie made all pro at slot, and he's going to go outside now, and he's going to be just as good at outside corner. Like, everybody could play everything in the secondary nowadays, and it's fascinating.
Right. And you couldn't do that back then, because why? Linebackers were a lot heavier. Like, you had guys like, just name any early 2000s, late 90s linebacker, and they're just
butt kiss.
Like 250-pound, 240-pound monsters that are clogging up the middle. Like
Dick butt kiss.
Yeah, and like you couldn't have, a guy like Skyy Moore playing linebacker in that kind of defense, because he would just get ran over like consistently. So it's just a parody of defensive schemes and, personnel from now to even 15 years ago.
So yeah, I mean, that's a quick mini rant aside, but that was kind of fun. Like, I mean,
just quick little side tangent, because I read some stuff today where I was like, man, I'm really tired of seeing that. Like, oh, people from the older eras are just, better. Like, just because you can't really compare. Oh, it's just, they're playing easier football these days. It's just not.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I still think you put Lawrence Taylor or Randy Moss in today's NFL, and they'll still be as good as. I mean, Lawrence Taylor is going to be as good as TJ Watt at least, and I feel like
right. And I think those are outliars, right? Like, you're always going to have
outliers.
Generational talents in those eras, but like if you even put like, I don't know, who's that one Bengals D end that always gives us trouble? It's like
Sam Hubbard, or not Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson.
Put Trey Hendrickson against like an offensive tackle from the 80s and like late 70s. He'll blow by him just because of how athletic they are today.
That's fair. All right. Well, let's move on to the Xavien Howard news, which is insane. So last week we were talking about some free agents that we potentially wanted, and me and Garrett did not want Xavien Howard. Now, ironically, it was not for these reasons, but these reasons only cement our point a little bit.
Yeah, this came out after.
Yes. We thought he was a little washed, actually a lot washed, honestly. And according to PFF, he's super washed. And We also thought that, if he wasn't getting offers, especially when he was tweeting how I'll take vet minimums, I'll do whatever it takes to be on
Like, there
teams, and he
must be a
wasn't getting,
reason.
yeah, I don't think he's that point in his career anymore. We could even play the clip if we do a reels later. But Xavien Howard, how do we put this?
Let's just say Xavien Howard is currently under investigation for a pretty nefarious act regarding his sort of
Baby
one-time
mama?
lover. Yeah, baby mama is the way I would put that. But yeah,
One-time lover is crazy.
he sent some stuff to said baby mama's 11-year-old that should never be sent, and it's really bad. And we told you so. I'm not gonna say we called it, but we told you guys we definitely didn't want Xavien Howard. And I saw some people online that were like, "Man, he's a lot of people are saying he's washed, but I think we should give him no." We had a gut instinct, and I think it panned out pretty well for us.
I don't know if we could take credit for that, but I mean, I still think that's quite humorous. And also, like, I don't even want any free agent corner from what I've been hearing about camp now. I think we are going to
Yeah, I
be
mean, like
A-okay.
you had Xavien Howard, and like you had guys like Adoree Jackson who weren't brought back. Like it's just kind of like these, like they were good, but right now I would probably just stick with our guys for the money they're looking for.
Well, and Gilmore would be awesome and cool and all that, but hey, man, I trust Shamari Connor. He was one of the highest rated safeties in the playoff run last year by PFF, and I think he's going to thrive at slot corner. So I'm not too worried about getting a corner in free agency anymore. And also too, like, I mean, I'm just gonna say it, bro. Howard literally told his one-time lover, I like that terminology, to either no more baby, and she said, no, I'm gonna have the kid. And then he said, all right, well, here's a picture of us. Here's a
He's like,
picture.
yeah, I'm gonna show your OnlyFans to your 11-year-old. Like that's pretty
Yes.
much what happened. It
Yeah.
was a horrible situation.
Yeah. The one-time lover had already a 11-year-old child, and Xavien Howard said, hey, 11-year-old kid, get to know your mom a
Here's
little
your
better.
mom a little better.
Oh
Like
my
it
god.
was awful. I can't even like. It's just such an insane story. Like
I
normally
can't
we wouldn't talk about story, but it's just like it's so off the walls and out of nowhere that we just had to talk. It's just insane. It's an insane story.
I just can't believe that you would be so, like, maybe CTE is setting in. He's been injured a lot, honestly, too. So
Like
that's a
what
potential.
was bro thinking? You know what I
Like,
mean? It's like what's going through your head when you're doing that, man? Like
it,
that little kid didn't do anything. Like he's an innocent bystander, man.
yeah, I mean, poor guy. And I mean, like, it's just not a way to handle that situation.
Was
And
he
like,
cut? Or oh no, he was a free agent. Obviously, I
no, he was cut. He was cut by the Dolphins to be a free agent. And I think it was just a cap casualty because he was making a lot of money.
yeah.
And I think he's still making a lot of money to not play on a football team. So I think he'll be fine if he probably, after this, I would say, is probably not going to play NFL football next year.
Yeah,
And there's going to be
maybe
people,
ever again. It's like
who are like, whoa, that's so crazy. Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, think about a lot of players who didn't play last year who were like high profile free agents at this point in the offseason, who everyone's like, why isn't this guy signed? And then they just have never gotten signed again. And now they just don't play and they're silently retiring. Like, I think,
oh man, I'm blanking on running back had the afro, played for the Broncos, undrafted guy.
oh, poor Philip Lindsay, man. Like,
Yeah,
I
Phillip
mean,
Lindsay.
his career came and went. Like, and I think the Broncos kind of were the ones to kill him.
And
Did you
yeah.
see? Guess who the last? I mean, this is now an obvious answer, but guess who the last 1,000-yard rusher for the Broncos was?
Was it Phillip Lindsay?
Yes, Javonte Williams never did it. Melvin Gordon never did it. Like,
Well, I mean,
that
that's
was
pretty obvious. I mean, Melvin Gordon was pretty bad at that time.
a Chiefs Super Bowl legend.
Chiefs
Melvin
legend
Gordon.
Melvin Gordon. Did he even play
God,
a snap?
nope.
Yeah.
But he got a ring because he was on the practice squad.
It's the same thing with oh god, who was that running back we used to love? It was we had him the year before the Buccaneers Super Bowl, and then he went to the Buccaneers and then won with them against us.
Oh, McCoy, Shady McCoy,
Yeah.
LaShawn McCoy.
Then who was that running back you really loved that also went to the Buccaneers? God, was he a Nebraska guy?
Nebraska guy. No.
I'm blanking. Anyway, I'll figure out.
Wait. Like, are you thinking of like Darrell Williams? Never went to the Bucks, but
No.
a running back
God,
with the Chiefs.
this would be the Jackson moment if he was here.
I
Unfortunately, he
know.
couldn't make it to the filming today. But well,
Yeah,
I'll bring that up at another time, and we'll discuss that running back because he was pretty fun. He was never like a starter for us. He was like a third stringer kind of guy. But
you're not talking about. I mean, Ronald Jones was on the Bucks first, and then the Chiefs. But it's
no,
not Ronald Jones.
you'll know him, and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about him on the pod.
Yeah,
But,
that's fair, dude. I also like dislike Ronald Jones, so I was like, "There's no way it was him." But I mean, hey,
yeah,
I mean, we're reaching the end of our episode here, so I mean, honestly, we could just rant about it. We got no more talking points, and I mean, obviously, we can end early, but we could also
it's like
find this out because it's bothering me.
It is really bothering me because that specific running back, it's like I know
it's not Le'Veon Bell, is it?
No, it's not Le'Veon.
Because I don't like him either.
We can have them edit this part out, like till we find it out. But
no, we're gonna put it in. I don't care. Everyone's gonna hear us talk about old running backs that were on the Chiefs, bro. We had Le'Veon Bell,
football database,
Melvin Gordon, LaShawn McCoy. Like, there's so
I'm
many
on
random
football
running backs.
database. I'm gonna see if I can find
Sharkhandrick West. I love Sharkhandrick West, bro. Spencer Ware. Louise Rees-Zammit.
God, dude.
Just kidding.
Need to find this player.
It's not Rex Burkhead. He never played for either team either. But that's you said Nebraska guy, dude, and Rex Burkhead is my.
I could be wrong. It might not be a running back.
Probably not a Cornhusker. Damn.
Did he get a? He might have been like a practice squad guy for them because I know he was on our team for a while, and then he went to the Bucks.
Damian Williams or Darrell Williams didn't go. Like, it wasn't. We've had a lot of running backs in our time. OG Kareem Hunt.
2021.
This is the intense Googling session.
It really is. It's like that's kind of what I'm looking for right now.
I mean, at this point, we can take a break for our sponsors while you look up that. So shout out to
Darwin Thompson. Darwin Thompson. That's who I'm talking about.
Oh my God, that's what it is. Okay, sorry guys for the absolute yell in the mic.
Yeah, Darwin Thompson, dude. That's who I was thinking about. Completely unrelated.
That's Jacob Punch's favorite running back. That's why you were saying that. But yeah, Darwin Thompson. Oh my gosh.
What's he up to these days? Is he out of the NFL? Like, I really haven't heard about him.
He was a 5th round pick out of like what, Utah State or something, or no, Wyoming or something.
He's in Las Vegas right now.
He is?
Yeah.
I know he played for the Seahawks for a little bit. But yeah. Oh, he was Utah State. Okay. Good.
He played college for Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College before transferring to Utah State.
That's crazy.
Good for him.
Yeah, Darwin Thompson.
He was a fun little like third string running back in like the 2020 season. Like, he had some really explosive runs and then kind of faded off. But
the reason being is his fumble issues. I think he could have been a roster player had he not fumbled so much in his limited carries. Yeah. But he was really cool. Great throwback, Garrett. Darwin Thompson.
That's the kind of stuff we're looking for in the pod, baby. That's how you know this is we got Chiefs ball knowledge, baby.
This is true Chiefs fansdom. Yeah, Darwin Thompson. Oh my God, good one.
Name 3 Darwin Thompson achievements. That's what a true Chiefs fan should be.
But yeah, guys, I think this is a great place to end off the podcast episode. Honestly, a really great podcast for a slow news week episode, I think.
Yeah, it's been a slow couple weeks. We're gonna try and keep it more consistent going forward.
I'm sorry, I keep going on vacation, guys. I just got back from a 10-day European cruise, and now I'm going to go to Nashville or to Tennessee to go to a music festival. But then I will be back here. I'll be making posts. I also do not have my job figured out for the future yet. So this is now going to be my job.
Next episode, we're going to have a lot more to talk about. I mean, I'm going to be able to talk about, like high school OTAs and scrimmages and 7-on-7 and just like what it is. So like what's in the life of, like a high school football coach in relation to like what's going on in NFL news and just other stuff that who knows, maybe something comes out tomorrow, some crazy Chiefs news like, oh, Mahomes has a twin and he's playing DB or something, like just
Well,
something
Mahomes
crazy.
does have a secret like stepbrother that's playing wide receiver right now. I saw that, but I mean, I don't know how we haven't heard of that. I think he's trying to go to the NFL next year, so that'll be an interesting if we could see the nepotism happen that we were talking
Like
about
just
earlier.
snag him up. Snag him up.
I guarantee you he'll be on our practice squad if he doesn't get taken by someone else.
Oh,
But yeah,
100%.
guys, before we wrap up, I did want to shout out because I finally made sure to get his information correctly. Oscar, his Instagram is lucha.jeep. He painted this Jamal Charles picture. Obviously, a guy that is super important to me because he goes to Texas as well as was a former Chiefs legend. I knew him first as a Chiefs legend, and then obviously I went to Texas for college. So Jamal Charles, this is a great painting. He does tons of cool paintings. I saw his Pacheco one was really cool. He offered that one up to me, but I was like, I'd rather Jamal Charles because of just how important Jamal Charles is to me. So yeah, guys, if you do send me art, it will be on my background. It knocked off the Rashee Rice and Kadarius Toney jerseys, but it knocked it onto my body as I wear the Kadarius Toney jersey. But yeah, guys, just wanted to shout him out real quick. Go follow him. He makes some cool art. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and don't
Garrett.
forget to click the link in the description. Head on to the Discord. Ask us questions. We're gonna wait till we like get a bunch of questions. We can just answer it on the pod. We're gonna have like our own segment where you guys just any football related question, any question at all, really, and it just we'll be able to talk to the community and just it's a pretty fun place to hang out and talk football.
Yeah, and also listen to the Spotify because I love it when you guys listen to us in the car and the shower
And
instead of
the
watching.
Apple Podcast.
Yes, and the Apple Podcast. I don't know who uses it, but apparently, actually, there are some
Shout out
people
Apple
who.
Podcast users, I guess, if you're listening
Yeah.
somehow on that.
Well, I mean, hey, I looked at the numbers and there are some listeners on Apple Podcasts. So thanks, guys, for listening on Apple Podcasts.
We'll take
that
it.
wraps up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, follow the Upper Hand Chiefs Instagram. Be sure to check out Garrett on Twitch at King Chog if you want to watch some amazing gameplay. He's just about to start up. So,
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? So we will see.
But yeah, we're going to be streaming a lot more. We got new mics. I got a new mic and camera. Thanks, Faraz from Upper Hand Fantasy, for hooking us up with the new stuff. Go follow Upper Hand Fantasy. I'd be surprised if you weren't already because he's got some fun takes this year for a lot of his number one wide receiver is Jamar Chase. So go check and just argue his take if you want to take it. But he's the stats guy, bro. He has these insane stats that I had never seen in my entire life. And he just devotes his life to these stats I've never even considered before. These like route participation, all this jazz. It predicted Rashee Rice being good. So you never know what it might help you with in your fantasy league. I don't know why I gave Faraz such a big sponsorship right there, but here we go.
Shout out to the boss Faraz. Shout out.
He's the only reason this exists. So actually very fair that he gets his fair shout out. So
yeah, give him his flowers, man.
Give him his flowers. But that's enough for today. As always, see you guys. I mean, Garrett, you have any wise words to depart with? Like, that was a good outro, man.
Yeah, man, enjoy the day. Go Chiefs. I think it's like, what is it, like 60 or 80 days till kickoff, and we're always just talking chop, baby.
As always, see you guys.